All right, how's it going, everybody? This is Robbie1 Kenobi, and this video is a video response to Dalyxman. About a couple months ago, he did a Raw review. It was for the May 9th edition of Monday Night Raw. I believe it was the May 9th edition. I know it was around the time of Extreme Rules. And during that review, he listed 5 things that he believes WWE truly needs in order to truly usher in a new era. And I liked it. I agree with a lot of what he said. I agree with a lot of what he listed, because if WWE is going to truly usher in a new era, they need to make some serious changes, to a lot of things. So this video, like I said, is a video response where I will list everything I believe the WWE needs to truly usher in a new era. Now, I am going to list 5 things just like Dalyxman, because I pretty much agreed with everything he said, but there's a 6th item I'm going to throw in at the end of this list, because I think this 6th item is very essential to everything. So without any further ado, I'm going to run down my list in no particular order except for the 6th item, because I think I want to end it with that, because you'll see where I'm going when I get to it. So without any further ado, guys, let's run down this list of the 6 things that I believe the WWE needs to truly usher in a new era. Number 1, like I said, this is in no particular order, but let's start off with the first item on my list, and that's a new commentary team. I've been a Michael Cole fan for years, and when he and JBL were doing commentary on SmackDown, I thought they were great. Michael Cole doing his thing with Taz on SmackDown for a few years, and then Michael Cole and JBL pairing up on SmackDown 2006, 2007. I thought their commentary was great. I really enjoyed it. But commentary today, you guys, on Raw, not great. I feel like commentary doesn't do what it needs to do. The commentary on the main roster does not do what it needs to do. And I feel like as a wrestling fan, when I'm hearing commentary, I feel like the commentators need to call the match and get us invested in the match. What I'm seeing on the main roster, I'm not a fan of. They will plug. The things that irritate me with commentary is that they give a bunch of cheap plugs to their sponsors. Now, I understand the whole concept of a sponsor. Yes, they have to give some shout out or plug to that sponsor, but I feel like on commentary, they waste too much time plugging the network or something else, and they don't focus on the match. I could go to Lucha Underground and NXT, and I could use them as prime examples of superb commentary. I'll go to Lucha Underground because what I love about Lucha Underground is they call the match and they make you invested in the match. Not only by just calling the match, but like they give you backgrounds of a certain fighter, a certain luchador, a certain luchadora, or the history of a certain match, or the history of wrestling lineage. Like on Lucha Underground, they don't worry about promoting El Rey Network. They don't worry about cheap plugs and cheap, I don't want to say cheap sponsors, because WWE, their sponsors help the product, you know what I mean? But I'm not trying to say the sponsors are cheap, but I'm tired of the cheap plugs they make and everything. Lucha Underground, they call the match. They give you backstory to a certain feud. If it's say Phoenix and King Cuerno, their rivalry that went on for a few episodes this season. I just love the commentary Lucha Underground gives us. And on NXT, the commentary is just up there. You know what I mean? It calls the match. Corey Graves is undoubtedly the best commentator on NXT. I like Tom Phillips. Don't get me wrong. He's been doing his thing, but Corey Graves makes you invested in not only the match, but the characters. His commentary is gold. He's awesome. He's the best heel commentator in the WWE. And Corey Graves is he's one of a kind. Now on SmackDown, of course, you have Mauro Ranallo, and Mauro has been in the commentary business for years. He's called Strikeforce. He calls Showtime Championship Boxing. He knows his wrestling. He knows what to do. He calls the match. And his commentary is very fresh. It doesn't sound scripted. You know, his commentary is genuine and it's legit and it's fresh. And I've been a Mauro Ranallo fan for 4 years now, you know, because like I said, he's also called Strikeforce. He calls Showtime Championship Boxing. I watch Showtime Championship Boxing. He makes a fight worth watching. He makes a fight. He gets you invested in the fights, you know. He gets you invested in wrestling on SmackDown when he calls, you know, matches. And it's just a shame that the Raw commentary team isn't even close to touching him. You know, it's like what I want with commentary is I want the commentators to call the match. I want them to make us invested in the match. You know, like I was saying with Lucha Underground. On Lucha Underground, they give you a little backstory about a feud, or they'll tell you some history about a certain luchador, luchadora, or the history of a match. They even, you know, bring up the the history of the Mayan, not Mayan, I meant the Aztec culture, Aztec Empire, everything like that. I mean, it feels fresh. It's something new, you know. I would love for WWE to talk about the backgrounds of certain wrestlers. You know, when John Cena brought up PWG and ROH and New Japan Pro Wrestling during the contract signing between he and AJ Styles, that was cool to see Cena bring that up because you don't hear WWE mention PWG, ROH. They've mentioned New Japan, but they don't mention ROH or PWG at all. And yes, PWG and ROH, they're independent companies. They really don't pose a threat to WWE, but I'm not trying to knock them for that because they've done their own. They've held their ground as independent wrestling organizations. I would love for WWE, particularly the commentary on the main roster, to acknowledge where guys like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Neville, AJ Styles came from. Talk about, you know, with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they feud in ROH, they feud in PWG. I'm not sure if they feud in Dragon Gate, but I mean, I would love for WWE to mention that in commentary. So then the new fans who may not know a lot about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens know that this feud's gone on for years. You know, they're best friends off camera, but on camera, on screen, in the storylines, they are heated rivals. They were best friends who became heated rivals. I just want commentary to do what it needs to do. Call the match. Acknowledge the moves. Acknowledge the wrestlers' backgrounds. You know, make us more invested. And I feel like Mauro Ranallo and Corey Graves do that perfectly on SmackDown and NXT respectively. And I love how they do it on Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground, I mean, they give you what you need to know and more. It's like a history lesson, so to speak. And it's one that just keeps you intrigued. You know, I hate when WWE, you know, when they do these pointless plugs for, I'm not trying to sound negative on the sponsorship and everything because, yes, sponsors are huge in any business. But I'm tired of when they do these pointless segments promoting this food or that food or this drink. I mean, like, go back and watch that one segment where it was R-Truth trying to give Goldust a deep dish Chicago pizza. And it was promoting, I don't remember who it was, but it's like, I feel like the sponsorship, that kind of stuff, those cheap plugs are just annoying as hell, man. I hate it. I feel like it takes away from wrestling, from what we're trying to watch, you know? So, obviously, a new commentary team is key. Mauro Ranallo and Corey Graves on Raw, dream team right there. For SmackDown, you know, I mentioned this in how Daniel Geisler and I would book the WWE draft, that fantasy booking video we did. I would put Tom Phillips and Renee Young on SmackDown. You know, I'm not saying fire Michael Cole and JBL, just get them off of commentary and put them backstage as, I don't know, writers or have them do some other kind of backstage business. But at this point, it's like, I just want commentary to do what it needs to do. And the two guys on Raw who could do that when they're finally brought together, Mauro Ranallo and Corey Graves. I want commentary to focus on the match, call the match, acknowledge the moves, acknowledge some of the wrestlers' backstories and their history. Maybe acknowledge, you know, I mean, they always bring up, like, the lineage of certain championships, like when Harley Race was a renowned United States champion. They do that, but I want them to do it more genuine way, if that makes sense. So, obviously, new commentary team is required. I just want commentary to be great. We're not going to get Jim Ross in WWE anymore, right? I mean, it doesn't hurt to try to hope that one day he comes back, but you can never replicate Jim Ross. You can never replicate him. There's only one Jim Ross, and he held it down in WWE for many years. Now, I feel like Mauro Ranallo is the one who can carry JR's legacy on in the sense of he can be the new JR, but there's only one Jim Ross. So we can't, JR is not going to come back. So that's why I feel like we need Corey Graves and Mauro Ranallo to lead Raw, the flagship show, into this new era. Their commentary is awesome, and I feel like they are one step. They'd be one key step toward launching the new era in WWE. We need new commentary, a new commentary team. I have nothing against Byron Saxton. He's done his thing, but I feel like he's somewhat of a goody-goody ring commentator. I've been a Michael Cole fan for years, and I've been a JBL fan, but I know when it's time to move on. I just want fresher commentary, more intriguing commentary, and I want it to matter throughout the show. The next item on my list is a fresh new look. I am so sick and tired of the damn Raw set being used for every single show. Raw, SmackDown, and every single pay-per-view that takes place yearly. The sets for pay-per-views back in the day, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Let me start over. The sets for every pay-per-view meant something. They made those shows feel special and fresh and unique. Dalyxman brought a Backlash with the swinging hooks. That was a great set. Armageddon with the cars crashed in, making it look like an apocalyptic battlefield. That set was great. King of the Ring, where it had that throne and it had like a glass set later on in the new millennium. That set was great. I love even the simple sets like In Your House, because it was called In Your House. So you had a basic house, a standard house with plants and your doorway and everything. Those sets were great, and they were simple. Royal Rumble, I like the little entrance they came out of for the Royal Rumble. The little I don't know what to call it, but the little entrance. I'll just say entranceway for now. And I can go on. WCW, Bash at the Beach, their freaking entrance ramp looked like a beach. I mean, that's what made that show special. Road Wild, Hog Wild. They had those were in Sturgis, so you had the bikers out there. That's what made those shows unique. Nowadays, WWE, they use the same damn Raw set on every freaking show, whether it's SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Night of Champions. The only set that is different year-long is WrestleMania, because that's the biggest show of the year for WWE. And I'm sick and tired of seeing the Raw set. Freaking Royal Rumble this year had the one versus all Roman Empire feel to it. Why couldn't they just build a Coliseum as the arena? That could have been the set, but no, it had to be the damn Raw set. And I know WWE has money that they can give us new sets, and if they're not using it, then that's just being damn lazy. I want every show needs to feel different. NXT, they freaking have different sets for their takeover specials. You have the same set every week for the show from Full Sail, and then at the takeover specials, they have different sets. Brooklyn was nice. It had black and white. The ropes were I don't remember the color of the ropes, but you had the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn logo in black. The mat was black. It was different. It wasn't like at Full Sail where it's it's the standard NXT colors, gold and gold with black trim. And I'm not knocking on that. I'm just saying like those sets, stand out from the rest. And Lucha Underground, what makes that different from the rest is the fact that it takes place in the Boyle Heights Temple, and it looks like an old school, fighting arena. That's what makes Lucha Underground unique. But Raw, it's the same damn set every time. I mean, yeah, the Raw set, but on the pay-per-views, it's the same set, the same Titantron, the same little marquee on the bottom. Go back to when it had that oval shape logo. That was cool. Or when I'm trying to think. Or when Judgment Day used to have the little hourglass, with the sand running through it and stuff. Like, I'm so sick and tired of the damn Raw set. I can't take it. And when this freaking brand draft, or yeah, brand split happening soon, I want to see new sets. The SmackDown Fist, that set was awesome for the time that it was around. You know, I want to see new sets, not just on Raw and not just SmackDown, but the pay-per-views in general. Give your shows fresh looks. Give them something unique. Separate one show from the other. Don't just give them the same damn set again and again, because that is just, if WWE has the money and they're not using it for new sets, that's just being freaking lazy. And I hate it, you know? It's just, you cannot stay with the same blueprint, or you cannot stay with the same, I don't want to say look, but I'm trying to think. You can't just go with the same approach. As the times change, you need to change and evolve, you know? So we need new sets to separate Raw, SmackDown, and all the pay-per-views. I'm so sick and tired of the Raw set being used again and again and again. I feel like WWE really dropped the ball at the Royal Rumble when they could have given us a Roman Empire set. Because you saw the, I mean, if you saw the promos, it was like gladiators clashing to become the winner of the Royal Rumble. And it was one versus all. Why the hell was the freaking set not used? Why was a Roman Coliseum not freaking built for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view? The sets back in the days made the pay-per-view special. They separated them from Raw and SmackDown. We need new looks and new sets. I'm sick and tired of the same damn Raw set. If they want to keep the Raw set for Raw after, you know, throughout the draft, all right, I'm fine with that. But give us a new SmackDown set and give us some new pay-per-view sets. Give us something fresh for SummerSlam. Give us something fresh for Hell in a Cell. Give us something fresh for TLC. Just give us something fresh with the sets. I'm sick and tired of seeing the Raw set on every pay-per-view. Even Beast in the East had a different look because it was in Japan. And I liked it. It was simple, but I liked it, you know. WWE, you want to truly usher in a new era, you also usher in a new look. So if you want to keep the Raw set, keep it. But give us a fresher SmackDown set and a fresher look for the pay-per-views. I'm sick of that damn Raw set being used all the time. I have no problem with the LED boards on the side of the ring, but just give us something fresh with the looks. I'm sick and tired of the Raw set. I've said it multiple times in this video. You guys can play a drinking game out of how many times I've said it, but I want new sets and I want a new look. And I feel like a new look is also key to ushering in a new era. Let's try to be creative with your sets. Give us something that we're gonna be amazed at, that we're gonna leave the arena saying, "Wow, like what an awesome setup WWE had for this show or for that show." Just give us some fresh looks. I'm sick of that damn Raw set. You know, I'm sick of that damn Raw set. Just give us something new. Third thing on my list: fresh feuds and storylines. You know, I have nothing against keeping a feud like Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn going for years. That's a feud you can always go back to and just keep it going. And you can keep it going because these guys are destined to fight forever. Do it right. These guys are destined to fight forever. I have no problem reigniting old feuds, like I said, Zayn and Owens, or Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins in the case of what happened at Money in the Bank last Sunday night. But there are certain feuds right now on the main roster that I am sick of. They're either pointless or they go on too long, and they just run their course. Golden Truth versus Breezango. Need I freaking say more? Do we really care about a feud between two pointless teams? Do we really care about this new pairing between Goldust and R-Truth? Do we really care about this pairing between Tyler Breeze and Fandango? Excuse me. That to me is the most pointless feud of the year so far. Then you have a feud like Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. I saw potential in that feud from the night it started, the night after WrestleMania. I thought maybe these guys do a couple matches, Corbin goes over in both. You establish him as as a new heel, as a new monster. You can build him towards something, potentially a World Heavyweight Championship reign. What happens? They face off at Payback, and Ziggler beats Corbin. They face off again at Extreme Rules. No, they face off the night after Payback, and Corbin gets his win back. Then they face off at Extreme Rules. Corbin wins that. Then they're supposed to have a technical wrestling match on Raw, and Ziggler low blows Corbin, and Corbin wins by disqualification. And then they meet at Battleground, not Battleground, Money in the Bank last Sunday. And they try to give us a good match. I applaud them for their efforts. I thought it was decent, but I just did not care. Baron Corbin got the win. Over the strain of 3 straight pay-per-views, they had matches. Baron Corbin lost 1. He won the other 2. Dolph Ziggler didn't need to win that match at Payback. They could have done this at Payback, and then they did it at Payback. Corbin should have won. Corbin should have won like a heel or whatever. Then they could have done a rematch at Extreme Rules, no disqualification. Corbin could have won that, ended the feud. He could have laid out Ziggler. Feud is over. Move on to something else, you know? But no. WWE, because they think Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler is such a huge feud that we want to see it multiple times, they had to do that match like Lord knows how long for the umpteenth time. And I just got sick and tired of it because I felt like Corbin should be in a more significant feud where it establishes him as a top heel and as one of the new top stars in this new era. Ziggler, Dolph's a great performer, but why should I get invested in him anymore? WWE hasn't done anything relevant with him since Survivor Series 2014, when I honestly thought he was gonna skyrocket to the World Heavyweight Championship following his gutsy performance in the Team Authority elimination match. You know, that was his night to shine. That was his night to, you know, have the torch passed him. Man, he didn't do anything. What I love about Lucha Underground and NXT is that their feuds and storylines mean something. They're significant, and they keep you invested. And the best part about when they do fresh feuds and storylines is that they don't do rematches or the same match 50 million times like on the main roster. That is something that's one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's actually on this list, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm sick and tired of when on the main roster they do the same match over and over and over again. You pretty much kill the significance of seeing that match for the first time. You kill any relevance of that match happening, and you kill any significance of it. You know, a prime example is AJ Styles in the Club versus Roman Reigns and the Usos. You know, the Club versus the Bloodline. They had a 6-man tag team match. I think it was the night after Payback. And when that happened, I was like, damn, man, like, you really had to do that match on Raw. You couldn't save that match for Extreme Rules. You could have done a 6-man tag team Extreme Rules match for the championship. That would have been freaking awesome. That would have kept that feud going in a whole new direction. But no, WWE, because they're out of touch, had to give us that match. Granted, it was a fresh match, but they had to give it to us on Raw. They couldn't just wait until Extreme Rules to give us that match. That would have gotten us more intrigued. That would have gotten us. That would have. Excuse me, kind of getting a little caught up, but I'm very passionate about this whole video response, you know, because I want to see WWE usher in a new era. So anyway, they could have saved that for Extreme Rules. That would have been a completely fresh matchup, and that would have had us intrigued. Oh, what team's going to walk out the victor? Who's going to walk out the WWE World Heavyweight Champion? But nope, they had to do it on Raw. They had to do it on SmackDown that same week, and then the following week, they did it in an elimination match. So right there, you killed any intrigue in the Club versus the Bloodline for a pay-per-view match. They did Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on Raw. It was a good match for what it was last Monday, but I feel like the reason they did it was because they wanted to keep the feud between Owens and Zayn going. Because look, Owens lost. He was upset with that loss. Granted, I would have preferred Sami Zayn beat him on pay-per-view, but Sami Zayn beat him unexpectedly. Kevin Owens was pissed. He went after Sami Zayn. They brawled again. That keeps their feud going. See, that's a good example of a feud that not necessarily fresh, but it has long-term relevance. You know, keep that going for a few years. These guys destined to fight forever. I like what WWE did there. But with the club and the bloodline, they pretty much killed any relevance of that feud within 3 matches. So within a span of a week, pretty much. You have a bunch of new talent on the main roster. Use them. Use them properly. And this is one other thing I want. With these fresh feuds and storylines, obviously, we all want new stars made. That is a common, that's something that we as wrestling fans all want. We all want new stars. No matter what era we're in, we always want new stars with any promotion, especially WWE. But what I want to see in fresh feuds and storylines, especially when a championship is on the line, is I want to see credible champions and challengers built. You know, Titus O'Neil got a United States Championship match with Rusev of Money in the Bank. I'm not saying Titus didn't deserve it, but Titus has never really been established as a credible champion or a credible challenger for that matter. So in future championship feuds, I want to see new stars made, and I want to see them made. I want to see them built as credible challengers. I want to see new credible challengers established as well. You know, I feel like credible champions, credible challengers, credible heels, and credible faces are key to fresh feuds and storylines. You know, and make your storylines count. Look at NXT. The storyline in the feud between Joe and Balor. Joe felt entitled to an NXT championship match. And when he didn't get it, he turned his back on Finn Balor and was determined to bring Balor down, and he got a title shot. He didn't beat Balor the first time in NXT TakeOver London. They feuded again. They had a rematch at NXT TakeOver Dallas. And I thought Joe was going to win it there, and Joe still didn't win. But every time he felt he came up short, he became more of a vicious monster. And finally, when the moment was right, he struck. And at NXT Lowell, at a house show of all things, Joe struck and he beat Finn Balor for the championship. And what happened? Balor felt naked without that NXT championship. He felt like he needed the NXT championship. He was somewhat not obsessed, but possessed by the NXT championship. He needed it. He wanted it. And he was not going to go down without a fight. And it ultimately led to their cage match at NXT TakeOver the end. NXT and Lucha Underground make their feuds and storylines very relevant. They make them worth something. They make them feel special. I'll look at Lucha Underground. Phoenix and King Cuerno. Phoenix was the Lucha Underground Gift of the Gods champion at the start of the season. He had a match. Very first night of the second season against King Cuerno. Cuerno beat him and became the Lucha Underground Gift of the Gods. I know it's the Gift of the Gods champion, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm calling him Lucha Underground, you know. And then what happens? The main reason King Cuerno beat Phoenix was because he was chosen by Katarina to finish Phoenix off because Phoenix was a thorn in Mil Muertes' side. What happened after that? A few weeks later, Phoenix and Cuerno had a rematch. I think it was last Luchador standing. And Phoenix beat King Cuerno. And then Katarina laid down the gauntlet and said, this time, you better eliminate Phoenix and you better be able to fly. Because you have to face him with your Gift of the Gods championship on the line in a ladder match. It happened, I think, the week after or 2 weeks after. And that match was awesome. That ladder match was great. And in the end, Phoenix conquered King Cuerno. And it was all about progressing a storyline that made sense. It was all about making that feud mean something. It wasn't just Phoenix versus King Cuerno every week for like 6 weeks. They had different rematches on different weeks, and they all built towards something else. And ultimately, Phoenix winning the championship back led to him cashing in on Mil Muertes and him becoming the Lucha Underground champion when that match finally took place. So as you see, Lucha Underground took 2 feuds and ultimately brought them together. One feud progressed and ultimately led to the progression of another feud. That's what I want to see on the main roster. That's what I love to see on NXT. And that's what I love to see on Lucha Underground. NXT and Lucha Underground, they make their feuds and storylines relevant. On the main roster, they do feuds a million times, and they feel drawn out and over. They make their feuds feel irrelevant. You get to the point where you're tired of seeing the same match and feud. You want to move on. So that's something else that's key to WWE ushering in a new era. Fresh feuds and storylines with credible champions and challengers established as well. Like I said, We all agree. Us in the YWC all agree we want new stars made in WWE. Doesn't matter if it's a new era, old era, we want new stars throughout the future. But I feel like with fresher feuds and fresher storylines, we can get more credible champions and challengers established. I feel that's key to any wrestling promotion. Credible champions and challengers are a must, but especially now for WWE. You have a ton of new talent who came in, in the past few months. Use them, make them feel special, make them, I don't want to say worthy, but make them relevant. Make them credible champions, make them credible challengers, make us want to come back and watch them some more. Make us get behind them. And then you will have a more watchable product and a more exciting product that makes fans come back for more. Next on my list, less overexposure and 50-50 booking. Now, this pretty much ties into the fresh feuds and storylines. But, like I was saying, I'm sick and tired of seeing the same damn matches a million times. I can't count how many times we've seen Golden Truth versus Breezango. Who cares? We've seen Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin umpteenth times. Who cares? Dolph Ziggler versus Kevin Owens. God, they wrestled I don't know how many times within the span of like 3 months between, I think, what was it, November, December, whatever. But those guys had so many freaking matches, it just got boring after a while. And the Kevin Owens-Dolph Ziggler match, if they had wrestled once on like Raw and Ziggler beat Owens in a non-title match and they had a pay-per-view match, that pay-per-view match would have been special. That would have meant something. Even if it was the second time they met. It would have been the first time they met on pay-per-view. I'm really sick and tired of like getting the same match over and over again. You're always guaranteed to get the same damn match on Raw and SmackDown. A match you saw on Raw, if it doesn't happen on SmackDown the same week, it's going to happen the following week. And it's just like, bring me back to the times when in wrestling, first-time encounters and rematches meant something, Like, I'm an old-school wrestling fan who appreciates the old-school mentality of wrestling when feuds and storylines meant something and rematches meant something. Not the same match every freaking week on Raw and SmackDown for like 20 million times, you know what I'm saying? Like I said with Lucha Underground and NXT, they make their matches significant. They make them special. And they don't go ahead and do them right away. Yes, recently on NXT, Andrade Cien Almas and Ty Dillinger had a rematch literally the week after NXT TakeOver the End, which technically, if you were at that taping, happened hours after the original match. But why it happened was because I see the storyline building and progressing where Ty Dillinger just keeps losing and losing. And in the back of his mind, he's questioning whether he can still go as the perfect 10. And he's obsessed with having lost to Andrade Almas because he's the perfect 10 and he lost to a guy that's 100. So, to me, less overexposure and less 50-50 booking. 50-50 booking is something that really irks me. And I go back to the Dolph Ziggler-Baron Corbin feud because you had to give Dolph Ziggler the win over Baron Corbin at Payback, right? How was Dolph going to benefit from that? You know what I'm saying? It's like 50-50 booking when done right means something. If it's like a best-of-5 series. Or it's the King Cuerno Phoenix rivalry where they traded victories and they get to the guys' championship. It meant something because their feud was special. It was something unique. On the main roster, 50-50 booking can mean something if done right. I'll give you an example of something that just recently happened on SmackDown. Apollo Crews and Sheamus had a rematch from Money in the Bank. And Sheamus won by countout. And how he won by countout, I liked. Basically, he set up the steel stairs. He assaulted Apollo, and he kicked Apollo face first to the steel stairs. Apollo didn't get pinned. He got counted out. Sheamus won. Sheamus liked what he did. I'm a fan of that, okay? Because I feel like Sheamus made things personal with Apollo. He went whatever mile he had to go to beat Apollo. He's embarrassed that Apollo embarrassed him at Money in the Bank. So that's a good example of 50-50 booking. Is it going to make it for a great feud? I don't think so, but if they do it right, it'll be a good feud. Apollo does need to come out. I don't think Sheamus needs to pin him in this feud. If Sheamus loses to Apollo Crews, it's not going to hurt him. I would hate if Sheamus and Apollo have 2 more matches and Sheamus wins them both, because he does not win. He does not need wins. Apollo Crews is the new star you want to establish. But what I liked was Sheamus took a dirty route, an alternate. Okay, not alternate. He resorted to somewhat of a dirty tactic, a bully tactic to beat Apollo Crews. You know, he didn't care about whether it was pinfall or submission. He just wanted to hurt Apollo, and he kicked him into the steel stairs face first. You know, that's good. That's a nice way to keep that feud going. That makes me interested in seeing how Apollo Crews is gonna get his revenge on Sheamus. You know, I would love to see Apollo do that powerbomb thing on the steel stairs, you know, to get back at Sheamus, and then you build toward a match at Battleground. Maybe do Falls Count Anywhere, where it's going to mean something. Is it going to be the greatest feud ever? No, but it keeps the feud going, and you've got a reason to root behind Apollo Crews, because Apollo Crews, as much as I love the guy, I feel like he hasn't established who he truly is on the main roster. Well, we need a character, you know. We need to know what Apollo Crews is, what he stands for, who he fights for, you know. So that right there is a good example of 50-50 booking. But when it's like Dolph Ziggler and he doesn't need a win, and you're trying to build up Baron Corbin, and you give Corbin his first pay-per-view loss when he just got to the main roster, that's when I have a problem with 50-50 booking, you know. And I think the king, the guy that's benefited from 50-50 booking the most, is John Cena, because he's always had to get his win back in rematches. And this is not a knock on John Cena personally, but it's the truth. You know, John Cena, he lost to The Rock at WrestleMania 28. The next year, WrestleMania 29, he had to beat The Rock, and he beat The Rock for the WWE Championship. The Kevin Owens feud, one of the most prime examples of 50-50 booking. Cena lost to Owens clean at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view last year. They do a rematch of Money in the Bank, and he loses, and Owens loses to Cena because Cena had to get his win back. And they go to Battleground. They have the rubber match, and Cena still comes out on top. That's the one case of 50-50 booking I hate the most, when it involves John Cena. And, you know, I don't know what's going to happen at Battleground, if there's going to be a John Cena, AJ Styles rematch. You know, knowing WWE, they'll most likely do it. But based on what I saw on SmackDown, I would like to see John Cena and the Usos face the Club in a 6-man tag team match, because that way, 1, you don't go into an immediate rematch right away, and 2, it's something new, it's something fresh. You know, Cena can acquire or call upon the Usos. He can acquire. He can call on them to be his partners to face the Club. Since AJ's always got his friends around, why doesn't Cena have a couple of his friends around? And then he can do John Cena and the Club, or John Cena and the Usos versus the Club. Fresh match there. But knowing WWE, they'll do it on Raw or SmackDown, and it's just gonna take away from what could have been something special on pay-per-view. But getting back to less overexposure and 50-50 booking, you know, I feel like with this draft, Raw and SmackDown, what they should do, what WWE should do with Raw and SmackDown once they do this brand split, and this is the idea I got from Dalyxman, and this is an idea I've heard other fans talk about, is come up with like 4 or 5 different sets of wrestlers, and have set A wrestle one show, set B wrestles the next show, set C the following week. You know what I'm saying? So what WWE should do is come up with like 4 or 5 different rosters for Raw and SmackDown, different sets of wrestlers, soldiers, whatever you want to call them, and then on one week you have this roster wrestle. The next week on Raw, you have this roster come out and wrestle. The next week on Raw, roster C comes out and wrestles. You know what I'm saying? On NXT and Lucha Underground, they don't expose. And yes, I will keep referring to NXT and Lucha Underground because they are the flag bearers for what WWE should be. They're the premier wrestling brands. They do everything right, you know. They may make a mistake here and there, but they do things right. NXT and WWE and Lucha Underground don't overexpose their talent unless their talent is in a significant feud where it requires a couple weeks that they appear to keep the feud going. The one example of a guy that can keep appearing on the show and the fans love him to death because he's a freaking rock star is Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura has appeared, I think, on like 6 straight episodes of NXT, and he's still freaking over with the crowd. Granted, these are all taped on the same day, but still. I never get tired of seeing Nakamura on NXT. He's a guy I could see a bunch of times on the same show over and over again, and I'll never get tired of Nakamura because he is enigmatic. He's a rock star. He's one of the best things going on NXT. If WWE got him on the main roster, I'd be afraid that they would not treat him the same way that NXT treated him. But yeah, you need less overexposure and 50-50 booking, because it takes away from matches that would mean something special on pay-per-view. That whole Club versus the Bloodline 6-man tag team match, 3 times within the span of 1 week they did that match, and it just completely fizzled out when it could have been the main event of Extreme Rules for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Granted, Roman Reigns would have still retained, but still, that what if factor if one of them walked away with the championship? What if the Club goes after the championship? What if the Usos want to walk out as champion? That would have, you know what I mean? Keep your audience intrigued. And it's just, I'm sick and tired of seeing this guy get the win and then this guy gets the win back the next week. And they keep doing it. And with Cena, that is the most prime example I can give. 50-50 booking only makes sense when it's a relevant feud, be it for a championship or a best-of-5 series where, it can go either way. That's when 50-50 booking matters. I'll give WWE credit for what they did with Sheamus and Apollo Crews because I'm looking forward to seeing what Apollo Crews, how he responds to getting bro kicked into the steel stairs like that and losing to Sheamus. That wasn't a clean win. It was, Sheamus resorted to dirty tactics to win. He did whatever he had to do to win. So go with that from there. But I feel like WWE needs to give certain wrestlers a break and let other wrestlers, give TV time to other wrestlers who you're not using properly that you can turn into stars, like Tyler Breeze. I've called this guy a dark horse for almost a year now. I've considered him a dark horse for almost 2 years, but on this channel, I've called him a dark horse for about a year. Why not do something with Tyler Breeze instead of this pointless freaking feud with the Golden Truth? I'm so sick and tired of that. I feel so bad for Tyler Breeze. He should go back to NXT. The Ascension as well. They were the most dominant tag team on NXT, and they got called up to the main roster, and they started well, but now they're just in deep shit. They have never been able to recover from how badly they've been buried. It's like, I feel like different rosters on different shows every week gives talent a chance to shine, gives them TV time, and gives them a chance to try to connect with the audience. So with the brand split coming up, and Raw and SmackDown, seriously, they need to be 2 hours each with this brand split. Raw better not stay 3 hours. And SmackDown better not even think of going 3 hours. That's ridiculous. How the hell do you do 3 hours of a show when you've got a depleted roster? When you have half the roster when you have half your roster on one show and half on the other. You know what I mean? So it's like, with this brand split, I hope, with the exception of like main stars like a Cena, a Roman Reigns, a Seth Rollins, that we get fresh rosters each week. We get very little overexposure, and we get very little to none 50-50 to no 50-50 booking at all. Because that is just one of my biggest pet peeves of WWE. Because there are certain stars that need to have their win or get their win back and need to be protected. So they're the benefactors of 50-50 booking. You know what I'm saying? So less overexposure and 50-50 booking. That's a must for WWE to usher in a new era. Go with a different blueprint, different strategy, game plan, whatever. But cut the 50-50 booking unless it's a notable feud that requires it. Be it for a championship or a best-of-5 series, best-of-7 series, whatever. I'm just, we need less overexposure. We need to have different rosters every week on the shows, different wrestlers competing every week on the shows, and just less 50-50 booking. I'm really sick of 50-50 booking. Like, everybody has to have their win back somehow, it seems. But, yeah, like I was saying, guys. All right, number 5 on my list. Color. WWE, I know they're PG. They don't do blood. I'm not saying WWE needs to do blood all the time, but there are certain times when WWE needs color. Prime example, Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. That match had blood. I don't know if, Taker and Brock went up to Vince and said, how much is it going to cost for one of us to bleed or blade? And they just wrote him a check and said, let's do it. Screw it, But that's a match. And that's a feud that needed blood, that needed color. Like I said, we don't need blood in everything, but I feel like blood is vital to certain feuds when it's that, that fierce feud like between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I got a feeling they'll do a Hell in a Cell match later this year, which I would love to see. And that's a feud that would need blood. Hell in a Cell match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn would need blood because these guys hate each other. They've been heated rivals for years. They're best friends off camera, but on camera they just hate each other's guts. See, that's a feud that needs color. Color is important to certain feuds because it can help bring like a definitive finish or a definitive finish to a feud. You know, let's go back to NXT TakeOver Dallas. Samoa Joe got busted open seconds into the match with Finn Balor, and they kept stopping the match to check, to check Joe's cut and everything. And I'm totally for WWE and their medical personnel looking out for the wrestlers' health. Health and safety is very important. That's the #1 priority. But Joe's cut was not as bad. Yes, he was bleeding, but the blood never once got into his eye. To my recollection, the blood never got into his eye or even all affected his vision. So he could still go. And that crowd in Dallas was getting pissed off, and they were getting restless by the moment every time they kept that the match had to be stopped because of the blood. They were so pissed off to the point where they were chanting "fuck PG." When your crowd's chanting "fuck PG," and this was NXT, mind you, but still, color is necessary in certain feuds and storylines for WWE and NXT. But when an NXT crowd is chanting "fuck PG," you have a problem, and you got to do something about it. That's not a good sign when they want blood and you're not giving them blood. And I know why why they stopped using blood in WWE. It was Shawn Michaels revealed on Chris Jericho's podcast. It was that whole feud in 2008 where Shawn was bloody. His face was a crimson mask on that eye injury, and Vince was appalled by it. So that's why they stopped using blood. But in feuds like Joe and Balor, Owens and Zayn, Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, and the beating that and segments like the beating Triple H gave Roman Reigns on Raw, where he shattered Roman Reigns' nose. That's when blood is vital. That's when you need color. You don't always need it, but in certain feuds and storylines like that, color is key to storytelling, and that can further enhance a feud and really give the story you're telling a compelling nature. Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, I mean, these guys hate each other on screen, and they've been kicking the crap out of each other in some brutal matches. And they go to Hell in a Cell. They're both busted open, and that's a match where blood was needed because you knew blood was going to be shed, bones were going to be broken, and bodies were going to be battered inside that match. Color is vital. And even John freaking Cena said that he misses blood and that WWE needs blood. He gets it. John Cena gets that you need blood in wrestling. Not all the time, but you need it in certain aspects, certain key feuds and storylines. Look at Lucha Underground. You could never do that Cero Miedo match between Pentagon Jr. and Vampiro in WWE. With how much blood they shed in that match, you could never do that in PG. The No Mas match between Sexy Star and Mariposa, the way Sexy Star was bleeding, you could never do that in WWE with the PG standards and everything, And those were matches where blood was necessary because it told a story and it was vital to the match and the storytelling. You know what I'm saying? I just go back to the Dallas match between Joe and Balor, and as I'm hearing that crowd chant "fuck PG," that's where I'm saying to myself, you know what? WWE, they need to loosen up and bring back blood when necessary. If Joe was cut and the blood was not getting in his eye, affecting his vision or anything, and he could go, let him fight, because it seemed like the blood made him an even more vicious and destructive monster. You know what I'm saying? So bring back blood. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to probably have a Hell in a Cell match this year, which I think would be freaking awesome because that's a match tailor-made for Hell in a Cell. Put blood in that match. Have Zayn and Owens bleed. I would love to see those guys bleed. That's a match where color is necessary, especially with the animosity these two guys have for each other. I'm trying to think of movies rated PG where there's blood, that actually meant something. I can't think of, if anybody watching this, or Dalyxman, if you know any movies where there's blood, where the movie's rated PG and there's blood and the blood actually meant something, please comment down below or in the chat box to the side. You know, but yeah, color I think is vital to storytelling in professional wrestling. And WWE, they don't always have to use blood, but use it when it's gonna matter. You know, like the Brock Lesnar Undertaker match at Hell in a Cell. Or if someone's bleeding and it's not a bad cut and the blood, you know, and it's not a bad amount of blood, let them fight. Don't stop the match, okay? Do not have a repeat of NXT TakeOver Dallas, because I never thought I would hear the NXT crowd chant "fuck PG" like that. That's an NXT crowd, and you know they do things right in NXT. So WWE, give us color, give us blood. If your poster boy says you need blood, then you know you need blood. Give it to us when it matters. Make Raw more colorful and more lively with blood. You know, blood means something in certain storylines. Make it happen. Make it matter again. All right, so if you guys remember, as I'm about to wrap up this list, WWE or Dalyxman did 5 things. His list was 5 things that he believes WWE needs to usher in the new era. And as you can see, I listed 5 of my own things as well. But I have a 6th item on this list. And I feel like this is very vital to ensuring that WWE ushers in a new era. You may not agree with me, but I feel like this is key to not just the product itself, but to the audience, the atmosphere itself, the wrestlers themselves, the fans. I feel like WWE, in addition to everything I said, one other thing that they would need to truly usher in a new era is to establish a more friendlier and healthier environment. You know, CM Punk in the podcast with Cole Cabana said that, you know, wrestling for WWE should be like going to Disneyland. It should be a lot of fun to go to work for the WWE and wrestle with all this great talent, you know what I'm saying? But because of everything that was going on, politics and whatnot, he didn't feel like that. He felt burned out. He didn't, you know, he just didn't like working there. He was fed up with everything. And when I look at what someone like No Way Jose, like the camaraderie he was able to earn on NXT when he debuted, everybody on the NXT roster changed their Twitter profile pictures to that of Jose. That shows a lot of love and respect for the guy. They are taking in their NXT brethren. They're welcoming their new NXT brother, and they're trying to get him. They're trying to get him, help him earn a fan base. You know, that's incredible. I commend everybody who did that to help No Way Jose out, because that shows you the kind of family-friendly environment that NXT is. You got to believe that when they go out there, every NXT star, Balor, Nakamura, Joe, American Alpha, Bayley, Nia Jax, you know, when they go out there and they wrestle, and they're wrestling each other, and they're wrestling at Full Sail University, and they're wrestling in front of these sold-out crowds, they're having fun. They're doing their job, and they're having fun because there's no politics to worry about. There's no concern about, you know, there's no concern for any politics or doing something wrong and getting fired for it. NXT is that environment that you want to work for, you know. And look at Lucha Underground. You know, I have a couple friends that wrestle for Lucha Underground personally, and they love it because it's something different, it's something new, it's something unique, and there's no limits, no boundaries pretty much at Lucha Underground, unless someone wants to try to do a move that might be a little dangerous for someone's health. You know, there's pretty much no limits at Lucha Underground. But in WWE, it's like a strict, by the code, by the book environment that they work in, you know. And I feel like that takes away from the performers themselves, not just the wrestlers, but commentary too. I feel like on the main roster, there's this by the book standards they have to live up to, and this certain I don't want to say code of conduct, but there's like they have to follow certain standards, which is, yes, like you have to have certain guidelines, being presentable, be professional and everything, but it's like they limit how much fun the main roster can have. You know, it's like, do it this way, do it that way, say this, say that. It's like, that's not a healthy environment. You know, the Young Bucks on Chris Jericho's podcast said that Neville hasn't even done half the things that he used to do in the independents. The WWE's not letting him do half of what he used to do in the independents. And I can only imagine that he has crazier moves in his arsenal that would just wow the fans. You know, in Lucha Underground, I love the Lucha. I love how a lot of the matches have that Lucha Libre style to them. You know, there are moves in Lucha Underground that they would not let him do in the main roster. It's like I saw Phoenix and Pentagon doing it was like a wheelbarrow Hurricane Rana into a pile driver or a power bomb or something. Like, you would never see that in the main roster. Only because they have certain standards to what moves you can do and what you can't do, Yes, I understand they banned the pile driver because the pile driver is a pretty risky move. If you take that the wrong way, you can end up paralyzed or with a broken neck. I understand. But then you take away the curb stomp, which isn't even really that dangerous of a move because aren't the guys supposed to like put their hands down so they don't like suffer a concussion or anything? You ban the curb stomp. Then I heard the rumor they were going to take away the bank statement, which is complete bullshit if they do, because that's a submission hold, that's a crossface. What's so dangerous about that? It's like, to me, I feel like WWE has their wrestlers on lockdown. All their employees on lockdown in terms of what they can do and what they can't do. Everything I listed prior to this is key to WWE ushering a new era. A new commentary team, a new look and new sets, fresh views and storylines, color, and less overexposure and 50-50 booking. But what also matters is a family-friendly environment, or a friendlier, healthier environment where the people on the main roster can just come to work, not worry about politics or anything, just have fun, camaraderie. I mean, the closest thing they have is Up, Down, Down with Xavier Woods, which I think is great. Don't get me wrong. I love watching, my favorite superstars, play video games, share their stories of growing up playing video games, and giving us more insight into their lives, their personal lives, what they were like growing up. I like that. That is so cool. And not only does Up, Down, Down reach out to superstars on the main roster, they've also gotten superstars like Bailey. Bailey made an appearance, 2 appearances on the show. So they reach out to NXT as well. I feel like if WWE wants to make their product fresh and likable again, one key factor, this is very essential to any wrestling promotion: build and establish a friendly and healthy environment. Let the wrestlers be themselves. Let the commentators be themselves. And let your fans have fun. Don't confiscate signs unless they're offensive. If someone has a sign saying like, "Oh, we wish CM Punk was here," do not confiscate it just because they say they wish CM Punk was here. That's a little bit of pettiness. And I don't remember if that actually happened once Punk left WWE, but if like fans were bringing CM Punk signs, they were being confiscated. I know, like, I forgot if there was people who had like anti-Roman Reigns signs and those got confiscated. But I mean, if it's something really offensive or demeaning, then yes, confiscate that sign, But if it's something like AJ's greater than Roman, or Roman's not the guy, or something like that, where it's just a fan expressing their honest opinion, don't confiscate the sign, because then you're limiting your fans. You're restricting your fans to what they can enjoy. It's like you're telling them you can chant this and that, but you can't chant this. And when WWE turns the mic down, when they're booing Roman Reigns, when the live audiences are booing Roman Reigns, that's wrong. That's just wrong. It's like we as fans have the right to cheer who we love and boo who we don't like. And WWE, when they turn the mic down, that's taking away that freedom in a sense. So, I just want to see the wrestlers be themselves. Rey Mysterio Jr., he is killing it on Lucha Underground because he's himself. He's going back to the lucha style that made him a household name all over the world. In WWE, for the first few years, he did that style, and he was just throwing fans left and right. And then later on, when they were putting Rey up against the big main eventers, the bigger guys, they had Rey wrestle the big man style. Rey's not like that. Rey's a luchador. He's a luchador by heart. He's a luchador by nature. The stuff he's doing on Lucha Underground and in Independence, that's who Rey Mysterio is. They don't limit his moveset. They don't limit him to what he can do. He goes out there, he gives it his all, and he shows them why he's called the King of Mystery and why he's called the King of Lucha Libre. You know, Neville. Here's a prime example. Neville. When he debuted on the main roster, I was so happy because Neville was one of my favorites on NXT. And he came out with a cape, like a superhero. And it's not a horrible cape or anything. But they changed his ring attire up. And I was such a big fan of his ring attire where he had like different color schemes and the Union Jack at the top because he's from London. You know, he's from God, I forgot where, but he's from London, United Kingdom, basically. And then when I see him wrestle in those purple tights with the black stripes or the red tights with the black stripes, it's not a horrible costume, but it's like I want to see him go back to being Adrian Neville, the man that gravity forgot. You can still refer to him as the man that gravity forgot. I mean, Neville is in a sense a superhero because of what he does, but just get rid of the cape, give him his old attire back, and let him just be Adrian Neville. You know, Neville's not a bad name, but I like Adrian Neville better because it has that spark to it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like WWE is like Disneyland. You know, you want to be able to go to a WWE show, have fun, you know, cheer who you love, boo who you don't like, and not feel restricted. And that's what WWE, I feel, is doing, especially when they lower the mic down in the when live audiences are booing the guys they don't want them to boo. You know what I'm saying? So WWE, if you want to truly usher in a new era, one great way to start is by building a friendlier and healthier environment. You know, I watch Breaking Ground Reloaded, and I see Triple H giving his NXT family, his NXT kids, a pep talk, and that's great. He's giving them advice. He's telling them, go out there and kill it. You guys did great. You should give yourselves a round of applause. We made this happen together as a family. That's what the main roster needs. I'm not expecting Vince to go out there and have a pep talk with them, but have somebody play leader in the locker room. Have Cena maybe talk to some new talent if they're nervous and tell them, go out there, be yourself, capture that moment, make that crowd love you, have them in the palm of your hands. You know, have this talent on the main roster come together like a family. Make the environment less about politics and more about fun and just being themselves. Let the wrestlers be themselves. Let the luchadors, you know, with this Cruiserweight Classic happening and Cruiserweights most likely coming to the main roster following that tournament, let the Cruiserweights wrestle like Cruiserweights, you know. Let them go out there and show why they shine in this division. Let the Cruiserweights be the Cruiserweights. Let Cesaro be Cesaro. Let Neville be Neville. You know, let Roman Reigns be Roman Reigns and not the corporate handpicked champion. You know what I'm saying? Let AJ Styles be phenomenal. Let Sami Zayn be insane. Let Kevin Owens be the fighter, the prize fighter. Let everybody be themselves. Have camaraderie. You know, let your roster be themselves. Let them have a good time. Let them wrestle. Let them give the fans a show. Let them go home happy. That to me is the most important thing out of all the 6 things that I've listed. And all 6 things are important, but the one that I think is most important, and I think this is the best way WWE can start to try and usher in a new era, build a friendlier environment. Look at what they do at NXT. Look at how the Lucha Underground stars, how they come together in that environment. Build a healthier environment for your talent. Let them come together like family. Let them enjoy that camaraderie. Get them together for pep talks. You know, motivate them. Lift their spirits up. Let the wrestlers be themselves. Let the commentators be themselves. Let your talent shine the way they can. Don't tell them to do this, that, and the other thing. Don't tell them, don't do this, don't do that. Let the wrestlers be themselves and shine like true talents. You let your wrestlers be themselves. You loosen up with certain restrictions. You let the commentators call commentary the way they should. You let your environment become natural and more genuine. Your talent will be more motivated. They'll put on stronger performances. They'll go out there, they'll give it their all. Commentary will sound better. and you'll have a much better product. And your fans will keep coming. They'll enjoy the product. You're destined from there. You're set. All right, guys. I know I've gone on long. I do appreciate you for sitting through the whole video if you have. That is my list of the 6 things that I believe WWE truly needs to usher in a new era in the future. To recap, a new commentary team, a new look, a new fresh look and set. Fuck the Raw set. Get rid of that set or use it strictly for Raw, but give us better sets for SmackDown and the pay-per-views. Fresh feuds and storylines. Less overexposure and 50-50 booking. No more, this guy wins, then that guy wins, then that guy wins again, then that guy wins. Less 50-50 booking. Have a definitive winner and do the right thing with regards to who should come over in certain feuds. Color. Color can tell a compelling story in certain feuds. Let them bleed. Let them fight. And lastly, a more family-friendly environment and a healthier environment. Let your main roster come together, camaraderie. Let them have fun out there. Let your fans have fun. Everybody wins in the end. I mean, think about Bayley, how she cheered up Finn Balor when Balor suffered a foot injury. She came out and did his entrance. You think they allow that on the main roster? I don't think so. Because why does NXT allow it? Because NXT is about their roster, they're about family, and they're about their fans, you know? And then Balor coming out and doing Bayley's entrance the next week. How awesome was that? You know? You can't help but love that. That's what I love about NXT. They're having fun when they wrestle. They're having fun on these live shows. They're going out there and they're being like family, you know, becoming brothers and sisters to each other. So that is what I want. I want the main roster to come together like a family. I want whoever's backstage to like drop certain restrictions, let the talent be themselves, and let us just get a great show. You let them be themselves, they'll go out there, they'll give you a better product, they'll give you everything they got, they'll get the fans behind them, and you'll have a better product. So that's it. What more can I say? So guys, thank you for watching and listening. I am Robbie One Kenobi. I do apologize if this video went a little long. This is something I've wanted to do for a while, especially before the brand split. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been my video response to your boy and mine, Dalyxman. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. What do you believe WWE needs to truly do in order to usher in a new era? Dalyxman, if you're watching this, please let me know what you think. I do appreciate the feedback I got from you on my Roman Reigns video. That was a true honor for me to get some feedback from you. And the fact that you liked it really meant a lot to me. This is the kind of hard work I put into my videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. You know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see WWE do to truly usher in this new era. This has been my video response to Dalyxman. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. I'll see y'all later.